The strange signals came at once on all Earth's listening devices. They followed a pattern too perfect to be natural. Dr. Kim sat still in his chair at the big dish in Puerto Rico. His coffee grew cold as he stared at his screen. "Someone made this," whispered Dr. Park beside him. Her eyes were wide with wonder as she looked at the wave patterns. "We are not alone anymore." For days, the world's best minds studied the signals. They tried to understand the message. Was it a greeting? A warning? The debate raged until it didn't matter anymore. On the third day, the sky changed. A tear opened above the moon, like fabric ripping in space. Through this hole came a ship of metal unlike any Earth material. It shone with a blue-green light and moved without any visible engine. It took position near the moon and seemed to watch Earth. News channels showed nothing else. Religious leaders called for calm. Governments held emergency meetings. Military forces went on high alert. And still, the ship waited. Then a smaller vessel broke away from the main ship. It headed toward Earth, cutting through our atmosphere without the heat or friction normal objects would cause. It landed on a field outside the United Nations building in New York. World leaders rushed to meet the visitors. They brought scientists, language experts, and military protection. Camera crews broadcast to billions of watching humans. The ship's door melted away rather than opening. From inside came tall beings with thin bodies. Their skin caught the light like oil on water, shifting colors as they moved. They had 4 arms and eyes that wrapped partly around their heads. "We are the Doru," said the tallest one in perfect English. The sound seemed to come from a small device on its chest. "We speak for the Galactic Empire. I am HFY Story." Scientists later determined the aliens had learned Earth languages by scanning our broadcasts and internet. They knew us before we knew they existed. Dr. Kim and Dr. Park joined the scientific team sent to meet the aliens. They brought measuring devices and questions about the fold in space that brought the ship to Earth. "Your fold technology is remarkable," Dr. Kim said to one of the aliens. "We've only theorized about such things." The alien made a sound like small bells. The translator device said, "You understand more than we expected. Most primitive worlds don't grasp basic physics." Dr. Park frowned at the word primitive, but kept taking readings with her instruments. Lee Hyun, who led the United Nations, hosted the main meeting with the aliens. She sat across from HFY Story at a large table. Behind her stood General Kang and other military leaders. Behind the aliens stood 4 more Doru with devices on their arms that everyone assumed were weapons. "The Empire spans 12,000 worlds," Kret explained. "We bring order and advancement to all corners of the galaxy. Your world has resources we value." "And what do we receive in return?" asked Lee. Kret's skin rippled with purple patterns. "Protection, basic technologies, a place in the greatest civilization in the galaxy." The alien showed images of grand cities on distant worlds. But Dr. Kim noticed that in every image, the Doru and 2 other alien species lived in the finest areas. Other beings worked in factories and mines. "The integration process is simple," Kret continued. "Your leaders will maintain control of your people under our guidance. Your resources will feed the Empire's growth. In return, your people will have jobs and purpose." General Kang's hand tightened on his chair. "And if we refuse?" Kret's eyes blinked in sequence around its head. "Refusing makes no logical sense. Isolated worlds cannot survive in the galaxy. Pirates, resource hunters, or other empires would find you eventually. The choice is integration or eventual destruction." Lee Hyun kept her face calm despite the threat. "This is a big decision for our world. We need time to consider your offer and speak with our people." "Of course," said Kret. "We are not unreasonable. You have one of your Earth months to prepare your world for integration." As the meeting ended, Lee Hyun caught General Kang's eye. A silent message passed between them. On the surface, they would play along. But Earth would not surrender so easily. That night, as the aliens returned to their ship in orbit, world leaders held a secret meeting. Dr. Kim and Dr. Park presented their findings about the alien technology. Their fold drive creates a temporary wormhole, Dr. Park explained, but it leaves an energy signature we might exploit. General Kang nodded. We need to learn everything about them while seeming cooperative. Li Hyun looked around the room at representatives from every major nation. For the first time in history, we must stand truly united. The future of our species depends on what we do in the next 30 days. Outside, people looked up at the night sky. The alien ship shone like a new star above the moon. Earth had 1 month to decide its fate, but many had already made up their minds. Humanity would not become just another resource world for the Empire. They just needed to find a way to prove it. Director Yoon stood before the world leaders in the underground bunker beneath Geneva. The room was cold with fear, but his face showed only determination. The large screen behind him displayed strange symbols and images taken from the alien database. We got this information when our tech team put hidden scanners near their ship during the welcome ceremony, he explained. The aliens have taken over more than 6,000 planets. They call most of them resource worlds. He touched a control pad, and the screen showed 3 different alien species. The Doru they had already met, with their tall, thin bodies and rainbow skin. Then a massive rock-like species with glowing cracks along their surface. Last came small floating creatures that looked like jellyfish made of light. These 3 species control everything, Director Yoon continued. They call themselves the founding races. Everyone else in their empire exists to serve them. In the front row, the Russian president leaned forward. How do they control so many worlds? Their ship is advanced, but one vessel cannot conquer a planet. General Kang stepped forward. He pointed to detailed scans of the alien ship hovering above Earth. Their weapons can destroy our cities from orbit. Their shields block our strongest missiles. But he paused. They are lazy. They expect easy victories. Their records show no real wars for over 500 years. They simply arrive at primitive worlds, and the people surrender. This gives us an advantage, said Li Hyun, tapping her finger on the table. They don't expect us to fight back. High in orbit, far from human eyes, Science Officer Meru floated in his gravity pod. His skin changed colors as he studied the human data. The Empire had gathered all Earth broadcasts, internet traffic, and communications since detecting their civilization 50 years earlier. Curious creatures, Meru said to himself. He sent his report to the Imperial Center, many light years away. The Fold Space Communication System carried his message instantly across the galaxy. These humans developed faster than any species we found, he reported. They went from simple flying machines to splitting atoms in just 5 decades. Even the founding races took centuries to make such progress. Meru added historical footage to his report. Humans fighting in muddy trenches. Humans rebuilding cities after massive destruction. Humans arguing fiercely about politics but uniting against outside threats. Most concerning is their aggression, Meru continued. They fight constantly among themselves, yet always survive. They adapt to any situation. They create weapons with whatever materials they have available. He zoomed in on one historical image, a primitive human fighter standing against a metal war machine, stopping it with nothing but his own body. Standard methods of control may fail with this species, Meru concluded. I recommend caution. Back on Earth, a team of scientists worked in a sealed laboratory beneath a mountain. Dr. Song Min carefully connected wires to a small device about the size of a phone. Her team had taken it from the alien shuttle during the second diplomatic meeting. It had fallen unnoticed when one of the Doru placed a larger device on the table. The alien technology hummed to life, projecting strange symbols into the air. Dr. Song's fingers flew across her keyboard, running the translation program they had developed. It's a shield generator, she said after hours of work. A personal one. The aliens wear them under their clothes. Her assistant looked puzzled. Why would they need personal shields during a peaceful meeting? Because they never truly come in peace, Dr. Song replied. She adjusted some settings, and the device pulsed with energy. A small shimmer appeared around a test object they had placed nearby. When they fired a laser at it, the beam deflected away. The shield works by creating a harmonic frequency, Dr. Song explained to the military observers behind the safety glass. It's like a musical note that creates a barrier. But every note has a counter note that can cancel it out. She typed something else, and a high-pitched sound filled the room. The shield around the test object flickered and died. "We've found their weakness," she announced, a small smile forming on her tired face. "It's not much, but it's a start." In his private office, General Kang received the reports from both Director Yoon and Dr. Song. He looked out the window at the night sky, where the alien ship could be seen as a small bright dot near the moon. "They think we're primitive," he said to Lee Hyun as she entered the room. "They think we'll surrender without a fight." Lee nodded. "We need to show them who they're dealing with, but carefully. If we appear too threatening, they might destroy us from orbit before we're ready." "The shield breakthrough gives us a chance," General Kang said. "We need more time to develop it into a real weapon." "Then we'll give them what they expect," Lee replied. "A primitive species grateful for their attention. We'll play the part while preparing our surprise." As dawn broke over Earth, two plans moved forward. Above, the aliens prepared to welcome another simple world into their empire. Below, humans prepared to teach the aliens a lesson about underestimating Earth. The clock was ticking. 3 weeks remained until the aliens expected an answer. The wind howled across the Antarctic plain, whipping snow against the hastily constructed stage. Giant heaters kept the human delegation warm, but they still shivered. Not from cold, but from what they were about to do. President Jian checked his watch again. The plan had to work perfectly. Timing was everything. "They're coming," said General Kang, looking at a small device in his hand. The alien shuttle descended from the clouds, its engines making no sound. It landed 30 meters from the human delegation. The door dissolved away, and 5 Doru stepped out onto Earth's most remote continent. Their special suits glowed slightly, protecting them from the cold. Sub-Commander Lix led them, taller than the others with skin that flashed dark blue patterns. "This location is inconvenient," Lix said through the translator. "Why bring us to this frozen wasteland for your surrender?" President John bowed slightly. "We thought privacy would be best for this historic moment. No crowds, no distractions." The real reason was different. They needed somewhere isolated, somewhere the coming demonstration would harm no one. Lix's eyes blinked in sequence around its head. "You have made the Empire wait. We grow impatient. What is your answer?" The world watched through hidden cameras. In bunkers and command centers, military leaders held their breath. Dr. Song monitored energy readings from a ship hidden beneath the ice nearby. Director Yoon's team prepared to hack the alien communication system. President Jian stood tall despite the fear in his stomach. Everything depended on the next few minutes. "We have prepared our response," he said clearly. He nodded to an aide who handed him a simple wooden box. The aliens watched curiously as he opened it, revealing an ordinary stone. "This is a piece of Earth," President Jian explained. "For billions of years, it has existed here. For millions of years, life has evolved here. For thousands of years, humans have fought over this world." He held the stone toward the aliens. "We have decided not to surrender this world to you." Sub-Commander Lix's skin flashed angry red. "You cannot refuse the Empire. Your choice is only how you join, not if you join." "We disagree," said President Jian, "and we have prepared a demonstration of why." He pressed a small button hidden in his glove. 200 kilometers away, at the bottom of a deep ice shaft, something awakened. Earth's scientists had worked day and night for weeks to modify one of their nuclear weapons. They had added components based on the alien shield technology Dr. Song had decoded. When it detonated, it released not just explosive force, but a precise energy pattern. The blast melted a massive hole in the Antarctic ice, but that was just a side effect. The real purpose was the invisible wave that shot upward. In orbit, the Imperial ship suddenly shuddered. Warning alarms blared throughout the vessel. The carefully tuned energy pulse had found the exact frequency to disrupt their shields for 3.7 seconds. Back on the ice, the aliens' communication devices activated on their own. Director Hume's team had successfully hacked their system. Every screen on the alien ship, and across their network stretching to distant worlds, suddenly showed the Imperial vessel with its shields flickering and failing. "This is Earth's formal response to your proposal," President Jun said. His voice was now broadcasting across the alien network to thousands of worlds. "We have analyzed your shield technology and found its weaknesses in less than 1 month. Imagine what we could do with a year." The aliens stepped back in shock. Sub-Commander Lix reached for a weapon, but General Kang raised his hand. "That would be unwise," he said calmly. "Our demonstration continues." The broadcast now showed scenes from Earth's history. Vietnamese fighters standing against American forces, Afghan tribesmen defeating the Soviet Union, resistance movements against powerful corporations during the resource wars of the 2030s. "We have studied your empire," continued President Jun. "You are used to easy victories against primitive worlds. Earth is different. We will not surrender. We will not submit. If you force this conflict, you will eventually win, but we will ensure your victory costs more than any resource on our world is worth." The aliens stood in stunned silence. Their skin colors shifted rapidly, showing their confusion and fear. "Earth will not be colonized," President Jun concluded simply. "The cost would exceed any benefit." In orbit, Science Officer Meru watched the shield systems reset. The damage was minor but shocking. No species had ever penetrated their defenses so quickly. They modified their primitive nuclear weapons to target our specific shield frequency, he reported urgently to Imperial Center. This was not random luck. They reverse-engineered our technology in weeks. Sub-Commander Lix's voice came through on the ship's communication system. "Prepare to launch orbital strikes. We must punish this defiance immediately." "Wait," replied Captain Pell, the ship's commander. "Imperial Center is responding." The highest authorities of the Empire had witnessed the broadcast. Their message was simple: return to orbit. Await further instructions. On the ice, Lix received the same order. The sub-commander's skin darkened with rage, but it had no choice. "This demonstration changes nothing," Lix said to President Jun. "You have merely guaranteed a harsher response." "We'll see," replied the president as the aliens returned to their shuttle. As the alien craft rose into the sky, President Jun looked at General Kang. "Phase 1 complete," said the general. "Now we prepare for their answer." Across Earth, people watched the broadcast with mixed fear and pride. For the first time in known history, a primitive world had stood up to the Galactic Empire. Whether they would survive their defiance remained to be seen. 6 weeks passed with no word from the Empire. Earth used this time well. Military forces around the world trained together. Scientists worked day and night on the alien technology. Every government shared information freely for the first time in history. The threat from space had united humanity. Then the sensors picked up the signals. 3 tiers opened in space beyond the moon. Admiral O stood in the hidden base built inside a lunar crater, watching the main screen with steady eyes. 3 warships, reported her sensor officer. Each one is 5 times larger than the scout vessel we saw before. The great ships glowed with power as they moved toward Earth. Their shapes reminded Admiral O of ancient sea predators, long, sleek, and dangerous. "All defense systems ready," said her second-in-command. "Should we attempt communication?" Admiral O shook her head. "Let them make the first move." The waiting was the hardest part. Hours passed as the alien ships positioned themselves around Earth. They made no demands, sent no messages. They simply waited, weapons visibly charged and ready. Then, without warning, one ship turned toward Mars. A bright beam shot out, striking the small research base humans had built there years ago. The base exploded in a flash of light. Thankfully, no people were stationed there yet. "They're showing us what they can do," Admiral O said calmly. "They expect us to beg for mercy." On the Imperial flagship, Captain Zex watched his view screens with growing confusion. The human communication channels were active. They discussed the destruction of the Mars base, but no official response came. "They should be pleading by now," he said to his command crew. "All primitive worlds do when we demonstrate our power." "Perhaps they need a closer target," suggested his weapons officer. Captain Zex agreed. "Prepare landing craft. Target their major population centers, not to destroy, yet, but to show our presence. They will surrender when they see our ships above their cities." 20 landing craft left the Imperial vessels, heading toward Earth's largest cities. Each carried enough firepower to level buildings for kilometers around. The Imperials expected mass panic, open communications, desperate pleas for terms. Instead, they found silence. The landing craft entered Earth's atmosphere without incident. They passed through the cloud layer, their sensors scanning for defense systems and finding nothing threatening. "This is too easy," said one pilot to another through their ship communication. The reports said these humans were fighters. When the ships reached exactly 5,000 meters above the surface, everything changed. Invisible nets of energy activated around each city. Dr. Song's team had placed hundreds of devices based on their understanding of Imperial shield technology. But instead of creating shields, these created precisely targeted disruption fields. Inside the landing craft, control systems failed. Engines shut down. 19 of the 20 craft crashed into empty areas outside the cities, their emergency systems barely keeping them from total destruction. One craft managed to maintain enough control to land roughly in a field near London. Its crew emerged, weapons ready, expecting attack. Instead, they found themselves surrounded by ordinary-looking humans holding primitive projectile weapons. "Your ships won't be coming to help you," said a woman in a simple uniform. "We've been studying your technology for weeks." Across Earth, Imperial crews found themselves stranded as their communication devices failed. Admiral O finally broke Earth's silence. Her face appeared on every Imperial screen. "This is Earth's unified command," she said calmly. "We warned you that attempting to colonize our world would be costly. You chose not to listen." The screen changed to show images of Earth's oceans. Beneath the waves, submarines moved silently. The image zoomed in to show the modified missiles they carried. "We recovered enough materials from your landing craft to understand your full technology," continued Admiral O. "Our version is crude but effective. Each submarine carries missiles that can reach not just your ships but your home systems." Captain Zex's skin paled. "Impossible. They cannot have mastered full technology so quickly." "Scan those weapons," he ordered his science officer. The results came back quickly. The human weapons contained components that created small, unstable fold fields. They would collapse quickly, but not before delivering their payloads. "We cannot match your power," Admiral O continued, "but we guarantee mutual destruction. Your empire will win, but dozens of your central worlds will suffer nuclear strikes before our defeat. Is Earth worth such a price?" In the Imperial command room, Captain Zex received an urgent message from the Imperial Center. "The humans are bluffing," insisted Sub-Commander Lix, who had witnessed their first demonstration in Antarctica. "Their primitive minds cannot have mastered full technology." "The scans confirm it," replied Captain Zex. "The weapons are crude but functional. They sacrificed stability for speed of development." The Imperial Center fell silent as the highest authorities debated. Earth had proven more dangerous than any world they had encountered in thousands of years. The resources of one planet, even a rich one like Earth, suddenly seemed far less valuable when weighed against damage to core Imperial worlds. After hours of tense waiting, the order came. "Withdraw to safe distance. Maintain position." New diplomatic envoy en route. Captain Zex was shocked. The Empire never negotiated with primitive worlds. But Earth had proven it was anything but primitive in spirit, whatever its technology level might be. As the Imperial ships pulled back to lunar orbit, Admiral O allowed herself a small smile. The gamble had worked. Earth had earned something no other world had received in the Empire's long history: respect. The massive space station hung like a jewel at the edge of the Canopus system. Here, the Galactic Empire conducted its most important business. The Grand Council chamber stood at its center, a room so large that some smaller species needed transport devices to cross it. Today, the chamber held representatives from all 3 founding races and a dozen lesser species. They came to witness something no living Imperial citizen had ever seen: a treaty with a pre-FTL world that had resisted integration. The human delegation looked tiny in the enormous room. Ambassador Bak Su-jin stood calmly at the front. 6 months ago, she had been teaching ancient Earth history at Seoul University. Now she represented all of humanity in the stars. Arch-Sovereign Drem floated toward the central platform. Unlike the insect-like Doru or the rock-body Garak, Drem belonged to the luminary, beings made of light contained within crystalline shells. His voice came from everywhere and nowhere at once. "We have reviewed the situation regarding Earth," Drem announced to the chamber. "The recommended protocols have been adjusted." A murmur passed through the gathered aliens. The Empire never adjusted its protocols. For 12,000 years, it had expanded the same way: find worlds, offer integration, and crush any who refused. In 12,000 years, Drem continued, no species has forced us to reconsider our expansion protocols. The great screens around the chamber showed images of Earth, focusing on its oceans where the submarines still waited with their deadly cargo. "This world has shown unusual adaptability and determination," Drem said. "The High Council has determined that standard colonization would require resources exceeding the planet's value." Ambassador Bak stepped forward when invited. Her simple blue suit looked plain next to the elaborate coverings of the Imperial representatives. "Earth thanks the Empire for its wisdom," she said, following the script Earth's leaders had prepared. "We seek only to determine our own path among the stars." The treaty appeared as a glowing document between them. It established something never before granted: a buffer zone around the entire Sol system. No Imperial ships would enter without permission. Earth would be recognized as sovereign, not a protectorate or resource world. In return, Earth promised not to attack Imperial worlds and to consider trade relations once its technology advanced further. Ambassador Bak placed her hand on the document, leaving a glowing print. Drem extended a tendril of light to do the same. As the formal ceremony ended, Drem moved closer to Ambassador Bak. His voice lowered so only she could hear. "You understand," he whispered, "that other species will notice this exceptional treatment." Bak allowed herself a small smile. "We're counting on it." Drem's light dimmed slightly, the equivalent of a frown. The luminary were smarter than the other founding races. He understood the dangerous precedent this treaty created. Throughout the massive empire, news traveled quickly. The impossible had happened. A primitive world had forced the mighty empire to back down. The official story claimed the treaty was a generous gesture from the empire, but nobody believed it. On a mining world in the Orion Arm, rock creatures watched recordings of humans fighting against overwhelming odds throughout their history. On a water planet near Sirius, tentacled beings whispered about the submarines that had threatened Imperial core worlds. In secret meeting places across 1,000 systems, oppressed species began to wonder if their own freedom might be possible. Back on Earth, the focus had already shifted from defense to advancement. Using knowledge gained from studying Imperial technology, humans had begun building their first true starship. The massive construction facility floated in Earth orbit. Director Yoon stood at the viewing window with Dr. Kim, who had first detected the alien signals that changed everything. "It's beautiful," said Dr. Kim, watching as workers in spacesuits attached the fold drive housing to the ship's hull. "And only the beginning," replied Director Yoon. "We're already improving on their designs. Our fold generator is 30% more efficient than theirs." The ship would be called Defiance, a name that needed no translation for any species in the galaxy. It represented humanity's first step into the wider universe, not as subjects, but as equals. They expected us to be primitive or obedient. Director Yoon remarked. They never considered we might be something else entirely. Dr. Kim nodded. What do you think happens now? The Empire rarely loses. They might come back with greater force once they've had time to prepare. Perhaps, said Director Yoon. But we'll be ready, and we won't be alone. He showed Dr. Kim a transmission they had received from a species called the Narval. They had been an imperial resource world for centuries, but were secretly reaching out to Earth. Your resistance gives us hope, the message read. We wish to learn. The Defiance would make its first journey soon, not to conquer or to mine resources, but to forge alliances. Humanity would build a different kind of relationship with the stars. Among Imperial officers, a new warning appeared in training manuals. Approach Sol system with extreme caution. Earth designation. Hazardous. Standard protocols suspended. In aristocratic gatherings on Imperial core worlds, a nervous joke spread. The galaxy has many dangers. Black holes, supernovas, and now, humans. And in the quiet of space, as Earth's first starship prepared for its maiden voyage, the universe itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting to see what these strange creatures would do next. The end.